Welcome to Energising Life with AKR Fitness. We are back for season 3. If you've not listened to the first 2, where have you been? That's my first point. Secondly, I'm Jase. I'll guide you through this season. And with me, I've got the heart and soul of AKR, Lynsey.
Hello.
And also, we've got the central nervous system, the brain, the man behind it all, Mikey.
Hello. Pleased to be back.
Very pleased to be back.
It's good. It feels like we've done our vocal warm-ups. We've got the microphone set. Producers have touched it about 7 times, but that was just in the last second or so. Lynsey's had her hair and makeup done.
As always.
As always.
I maybe should have.
Need a wee trim, are we?
Could say that.
I'm just hoping the lights don't get all the greys. That's the key.
You're still holding on to it though, so you're fine.
Well, that's the main thing. Right, how are we feeling about season 3?
Really looking forward to this one, yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. Mike?
Yeah, I think we've got some hopefully interesting topics and conversations to be had.
Absolutely. I feel this. I'm super excited for this season. I think it's going to be a game changer of information and content. So, Mike, do you want to give us a rundown of what's coming up this season?
Sure. We're gonna talk first of all a little bit about self-sabotage. Reason being,
dun dun dun.
Dun, dun, dun. The reason being, when I asked a lot of people, some members, some non-members, through surveys and things, what the biggest challenge in health and fitness was, self-sabotage came up quite a lot. So we're going to try and tackle that and look into that a little bit. Then we're going to discuss some concepts around motivation science, and things that people can do to maybe be more motivated or change their perspective on motivation. And we're going to have 3 members joining us for interviews as well.
Some extra member interviews.
Yes.
You looking forward to that?
I am looking forward to that, yeah. I really enjoyed season 1 and 2, having them in and getting their concept of it all.
Brings it all to life, really.
Yeah, it does.
It's good. So that's what's coming up this season. However, in today's episode, we are reflecting on 6 years of AKR. So by the time this airs, it will be the week of the 6th birthday of AKR. So we'll have a few reflections on that. And also we've got some listener questions. So, Mike, it can't have always been easy, but was it always worth it?
I don't know if it's ever been easy. It's not easy now. You know what I would say, because I can, it's difficult to trust your memory, looking back, and it's difficult to remember actually how you feel. But I do remember thinking this and maybe saying it in conversations to other people. When I went from being a freelance trainer to open the gym, I remember thinking it's not going to be much different, because I already get up really early and train. I do a few PT sessions in the morning. I do a few PT sessions every evening and on Saturday mornings. And in the gap, I had some lunchtime ones occasionally, but in the gap between those 2 shifts, if you will, I would do my own workout, and then I would work. I would be writing blogs, writing training programs, doing all these sorts of things. So in my naivety, I thought, it can't be much different, because I'm already working basically all the hours plus Saturday morning. It's not going to be that much different.
How much different is it?
It was a lot different. It was a lot different.
I was itching to get that. I was like, come on, get to the end of the sentence, Mike, so I can ask.
It's difficult to even say why and how it was so different. I think the fact that there's a building to look after as well and just so many different things that come up that not being used to. Like when I was a freelancer, I lived 2 minutes run from the gym, and I could just come and go. I would only needed to be there if I was training someone. And don't get me wrong, it was still like hard work at times, but I was in an okay place with it. And I think coming here, there was just so many, just a learning curve on almost every level. For a start, I didn't have to do any cleaning before because that gym was looked after. And so things like just looking after the building, I'm trying to think of all the different things that come up, and then as time progresses, then my role shifts and learning to manage people and try and become a leader, and there's just so much more involved.
Just a quick side note, just going back to the cleaning and the stuff like that. I'm sure the listeners and the viewers will be massively intrigued. What's worse, female changing rooms or gents changing rooms?
Don't put me on the spot.
I didn't know where that was going there. I was like.
The female changing rooms do get used more than the gents because we have more females, so that's my answer.
Always a diplomat.
Very stoic.
So it sounds like you went from being a coach and blogging and in charge of your own time to the next day becoming a gym owner and having this facility look after, and then people as well to lead.
Yeah, I don't know. I think bigger picture is just absolutely unrelenting. So even like I had to get up a little bit earlier. So I was getting up at 4:45 every day, and often not going home till 8:45 at night, and then just repeating, and then being down here an hour early. So being down here at 7:45 on a Saturday morning so that I could hoover the gym and do all that stuff. And there's just like, yeah, it's just relentless. And yeah, I guess if I was to go back and do it all again, there's things I could have done smarter or differently, you know, knowing what I know now. But that was the hardest thing, I think, is just, it's difficult to put into words, but it's just the grind. I used to go home and just sort of like shuffle into the house, just done. Done. Yeah. And, you know, Amanda would have my tea cooked for me. I would just heat that up, eat it, go to bed, repeat. So it was, I don't know what words to use other than it was just like relentless in those, I don't want to say early years, but it's probably 4 years maybe of that.
So just 2 years ago.
Yeah.
You say you go back and maybe change some things and do it a little bit differently. What would you change? Or what would you do differently?
There's just things I could have set up a little bit smarter. I think on so many levels, like even like how we kitted out the gym at the beginning, I thought I was being smart and doing things. And to be fair, the fitness industry's evolved and there's a lot more suppliers and a lot different kit. I could have saved money had I done that differently. I would have gone back, probably not opened on a Wednesday and just shuffled people in Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday and Saturday. We did for a while actually close on a Wednesday afternoon, and that was like a day where I could just go home and
rest
collapse.
And recuperation.
Yeah. Because, you know, we would have had enough slots in those other days and things like that. Just, you know, not long-term thing, but just in the beginning. There's little things that could have been done just a little smarter. Our setup, our model evolved a little bit over time, but it's difficult to regret these things because you only know what you know. You do the best with what you have at the time, and to be fair,
you're here now.
it's always felt that it's been going fairly well, you know.
I mean, for as long as I've been here, it's always been positive change after positive change. It's never been a regression.
No.
Mm-hmm. Now, a question for you both. So, I want you to think of your earliest memory. So for those who don't know, AKR is in a railway arch. I want you to think of your first earliest memory of coming in and seeing the arch. Hi, Mike, let's start with you. So when you first came in, you saw it, what did you think? What did you thought you have to do? What did you thought you have to do? What did you think you have to do and to achieve and move forward?
The first time I came in, I was actually, so I had a business plan written and I was...
Was it in the back of an app?
It was actually, you know, it was at least, again, at the time, I thought, you know, I'm organised here. In fact, even a step before that, I was already thinking, right, I need to find a facility and things like that. And I realised I need to take a step back, plan this out. What is it going to look like? Because I think I did view a potential facility at one point, and, you know, I was visualising it and thinking, oh, this could work.
Yeah.
But then I was like, oh, I have no idea what I'm doing now. So I had to take a step back, write that business plan. And I was actually looking at a potential site in the city, and I'd been in contact with a gym supplier to get an idea of what the flooring would cost and things like that. And he called me back later in the afternoon and said, oh, do you know such and such who runs such and such gym, which is where we are now? And I did actually know of the guy, and he said, oh, there's possibility of him leaving. You know, go down and have a chat with him. So that was like the first time I came in, and because it was someone else's gym at that point, I didn't do the whole visualizing thing and it was more of like a tentative first meeting to see if there's a possibility here.
So when did you decide that this was the right facility, and when did you start to visualize it?
Difficult to say. I think that guy ultimately, you know, vacated the premises. That's the short version. And so I made inquiries with Network Rail, and I think it just gained momentum. And then so probably the next time when I got shown the place, that's like the the hat on. It was probably
when it was like empty.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think you were here.
I think
maybe
I was,
that
yeah.
visit. It was probably April, maybe May. I should have checked my notes because I'll have it in my journal somewhere. 2015. Yeah, I think. Let's say May, maybe.
Lynsey, you say you were there for that first or second meeting, I guess it was, or seeing the arch. How was
Yeah.
it for you seeing it?
Well, I think for me, just going back slightly, coming back from travelling, like we said in episode 1, and taking on the AKR training camp at Duthie Park, I think that was like, so I came back in March, I think that was April, and then by May, I was walking through this door with Mike with the potential of, oh, I could be working here, kind of thing. I do remember walking through and thinking it's got character, because it wasn't an arch and it felt different from
Yeah.
being just a box.
What kind of feelings did they give you?
Just almost cosy.
Cozy.
Yeah, I do
Cosy.
remember, however, I don't know if it was the first time we came in or the second, that the changing rooms were flooded.
Yeah,
Do you remember that?
very well. Yeah.
And it was bizarre because it had been closed for such a long time. Well, not
Yeah.
a long
Yeah,
time,
no
but
being it at all, eh?
no.
Yeah.
So that's such a vivid memory of mine.
Yeah, I think there was an issue with like the water had been turned off and that had got turned back on when the shower switches were still on, or something like
Yeah.
that. So that was like
Oh,
that was
a
like
mirror.
that was the first panic before we'd even got going
Yeah.
because
Hurdle number 1.
Yep.
because the premises were closed, the water was sitting in there for a while, and so the lockers that were in there had already picked up a bit of rust and stuff, and we'd had to go in and bail the water and get towels and things like that, and weren't even the tenant at that stage. So,
First time I'd ever used a wet vac.
but not the last.
No, not the last. No, definitely not. So for me, yeah, it did have that feel of it was cosy, not too big, but not too small, and there was loads of potential in it.
And what about the actual archway itself, so where our gym is in at the minute? Mm-hmm. What did you feel about that?
Again, the same idea.
Same vibe?
It almost was like as you walk through the facility and open that gym door, it was like Aladdin's cave.
Yeah,
like
it
it was
keeps
just
going.
like, whoa, check the size of this. There's so much that could be done here.
Yeah, it keeps going. So Mike, you're in, you're visualising. Did it come together the way you wanted it? And at the start? And then talk me through the progressions of the gym as well.
I don't even. I'm not sure. Like, I'm lost for words. Clearly, I remember going down. Like, well, first of all, the kit that I'd ordered was dwarfed. Like, it looked. I remember spreading out kettlebells like along the back just to look like we had something.
Like 2 meters apart.
Socially distanced. You got it. Yeah. Just to look, and there's pictures
Yeah.
we can share of that. And also, I went down. I think it was the Sunday before the Monday that we're due to open. I was in Glasgow. Did you come down with me on that one? I can't remember. I was given a talk, and it was just it was just all weird. And I think, and then the first day, no one turned up anyway. I had one person booked in, they cancelled.
How did that feel in the first day?
Do you know what? It probably felt okay. Do you know, just like things getting ready and whatnot. I don't really know what else to say about that time. It's a blur. I think it's a blur because I had so much, like, it was actually, if I don't get 30 or 35, whatever the number was, members through the door, this is going to be over in
Yeah, you're not
2 or
paying
3
that
months.
rent and you're
Yeah.
out.
I had 2 or 3 months, and yes, because I had existing one-on-one clients that I'd trained before, some of them just made the transition, and some of them are still here, which is brilliant.
Yeah, it's credit, absolutely. All right, I'm going to take this another level down. Let's get a little bit deeper. Like I said at the start, you said it's been difficult, it's not always been easy, or you're not sure it's never been easy. What's been some of the most difficult challenges that you've faced opening, keeping open, apart from, the impending 2020 that happened?
Again, I think I will try and come up with specific examples, but for me, it was just this relentlessness of it. Even on a Sunday, which was the only day we weren't open, I would be like planning the social media posts for the members group and things like that, or answering
Writing
emails.
programmes.
Yeah. So even when you weren't
programs.
here, you're still
I remember one
working.
time, going to Amanda's parents' house on Christmas, and I basically just went in the front door, sat down, and almost like slept most of the day. I was just like
Exhausted.
just ruined. But I think different things, like in the first week or the first fortnight, like there was a toilet blocked. straight away because they hadn't been used and things like that.
And you had to YouTube how to unblock a toilet, right?
And I don't know, I'm trying to think of what some of the sort of crises were along the way. Anytime somebody left in the early stages, it's like, you feel it right in the heart and things like that. Lynn, I don't know if you...
I think, like just personally, for me coming in from not having trained much people in the 3 years that I was away to then coming in and almost, not in a bad way, but being overshadowed by Mike, and it's all his clients and I'm constantly on, am I doing a good job?
High alert.
Yeah, like, oh God, because the way that we programmed as well, you couldn't really coach, you were just there facilitating it. And yeah, for me, I felt for a long time that I was like chasing my own tail and trying to impress not just like Mike, but the members.
Yeah.
And so for me, that first, even though I wasn't working as much as you, clearly, like this is your baby, but I still felt split shifts were now a thing. I was losing my social side. Like the first maybe year of working here, I was exhausted physically and mentally because it's something that I hadn't done really. It was 7 hours of coaching. And again, it's funny because even just being in the gym and being watched by Mike in each session,
It's not off-putting at all.
but that's how I learned and that's how I grew, and I thank you for that. But like for my perception of it, I was sort of physically and mentally exhausted in a totally different way from Mike.
Okay. Yeah, I think so. I was already, my work pattern was, it was more intense, but I'd actually been living a similar, because I'd already been training people every evening, in the mornings, Saturday mornings. It was more intense and more heightened, but it sounds like it was a bit more of a shift for you.
Yeah.
And then the thing that I think Lynsey was trying to say there was the majority of the first sort of batch of members that came in had been one-on-one clients
tied
of
to you in some
mine.
form.
So they'd trained because it was me before. They hadn't joined that gym because of the gym. They'd found me through referral or my blog or whatever it was at the time and trained with me. So I think you maybe felt that you were having to garner that respect or prove yourself or get the acceptance. Like I remember, I think that first Christmas, writing an email to them saying like, I'm actually going away for 2 days here. Lynsey's going to be taking the sessions and things like that. And that was different.
How was there any drawbacks or backlash with that, or did people just accept it and be like, all right, okay? Was there any? You don't name names, but
no, I think with time people got used to it. I think, let's say there was an adjustment period for everybody. Some people maybe took it more in their stride than others did.
Yeah.
So I think for just to reflect back to what you're saying, the difficult times personally would be just adjusting to that change and trying to combat a balance between work and being life. Yeah.
How long did it take you to get that balance, or do you have that balance?
I would say with shift patterns it's hard to have that balance, but yeah, it definitely got better.
Just over time, as you got used to it and more robust.
Yeah.
I think just one last bit on there. I'm remembering now, and Lynsey can verify, how many times in the beginning my original goal was like just to pay off the money that I had borrowed to open this place, because I just said like, that's my first. I just want to pay off this money, because then the worst case happens, I can just close the door.
Yeah.
Like that was it. It was like it was just so much. I was like, that's my first goal.
That sounds draining, by the way.
Yeah,
like draining.
I didn't feel like the debt was hanging over my head, and I didn't worry about the debt.
Yeah.
But it was just like, I didn't feel like I could walk away from this. So it was like, at least if I can pay off the debt, then I'm just going to close the door. And genuinely, I probably said that fairly frequently.
A lot. I'm thinking, oh God, what are we doing here?
Just drowning in it, effectively. Just drowning in the day-to-day of it.
Sounds like for almost 4 years you were just keeping your head above water.
Yes. Yeah, I think so.
Okay. All right, let's go to a happier place. Yeah. Let's talk about the most rewarding aspects of being here at AKR. Lynsey, let's start with you.
For me, it would be the relationships, and not just between team members, but with the reachers.
Yeah.
I think the relationship that you make through events and socials and the community aspect is there's nothing like it for me.
It is special.
It is really special.
Yeah. It is special. Mike, have you got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, same, just the people, and as I've said, like how difficult it was. There was a period where just due to where I was living, where Lynsey was living, that I would pick her up in the morning, and you could probably tell Lynsey, I was like in a real grump most mornings coming in, but once you step on the gym floor and you work with people, it's transformational. And again, so you have that block in the morning, coaching people, you struggle through the middle part of the day, and then you come to life again in the evening with the people. And I think that's it. It's the people you meet, it's seeing people interact with each other, the friendships they make, the difference that fitness makes in people's lives, all of that sort of stuff.
And seeing them just smiling and enjoying exercise within the sessions.
For me, watching people go through this shift of I have to exercise to get to exercise, and it's fun and it's good, and they come in because people are here and they want to see them, they want to see their friends. But also, I don't think people realise how much we as coaches get from coaching them. Like, they always just see us giving and giving, but we actually get so much from coaching them, and just seeing people develop and learn, or get something that I haven't got, or get a new PB, or just get it. It's so rewarding, and it makes you feel glittery inside.
That's a good word.
I would say no matter how burst or broken or whatever was going on, I would coach a session and the world would be right again. You know?
I think as well, just with working previously as a trainer, it might be me as a trainer, but I never got to the point where I was seeing real results with people. Results with people.
Yeah.
And being able to see somebody that you've coached or been a part of take them from A to B, it's amazing.
Even from B to C to C, it's changing their life.
I think with that though as well, like with one-on-one training, people, because of the cost of it, people are training, certainly with me, maybe once, maybe twice a week, but most of them just maybe once.
Yeah.
And we had a model here that people began to train 3 times a week, plus maybe a class or things like that. And I think that really made a difference to the results that people were achieving for themselves.
Yeah. For me, I think, just to kind of summarise it all, the difficult moments have actually been the most rewarding when you look back at them. And you look back, and the first time we were on camera, and that was scary. What we're doing now, this podcast, remember that the first time we set up to do this, we must have rehearsed for about 3 weeks beforehand.
Yeah.
And that first episode felt so
scary,
scripted and acted, and just, we are on this, we can talk. But if you look at us now, we're just having a natural conversation, and just show the growth and development, and that's rewarding.
I think there's one of these leadership, personal development authors, Robin Sharma, and he says that
5 a.m. Club.
That's one of his books. He says that success isn't about the things that you get, but the person you get to become. And when I look through like the journey, not just myself, but the team, many of the members have been on, and how, like, back to me personally, how I've been forced to upskill and learn more, and it's not until you take a moment to look back and think, geez, like learning to, again, employ people and making mistakes along that path, and trying to give feedback in an elegant way, and realizing that everyone's different and not like you, and there's so much things. But then learning about business, and there's so much things, like the learning curve's been steep, but when you look back, you think, wow,
Yeah, I think that's a perfect way to end that little segment there. We've got some listener questions. How do you want me to hit you with these? Do you want me to just throw them at you first, Mike? Or do you want me to go back and forth between the two of you? What would you prefer?
I don't mind.
Hit Lynsey.
Right.
Let me prepare myself for this.
So we've got some listener questions.
One at a time, Jase, one at a time.
I'll go back and forth then, right?
Okay.
So we'll go with you first, Lynsey. So all these questions sort of relate to the very first season, episode 1, when we did our backstories, and we got some questions after there. So this, Lynsey, is about when you travelled. What did you learn about yourself? Wow.
That I'm impatient and no joking. What did I learn about myself? A lot. I actually, one of the biggest things was that I needed to slow down and chill out a little bit. I lived my life at 100 miles an hour and didn't really take time to stop and sit with my own thoughts and feelings. So with traveling, there was loads of opportunities for that. So for me, I would say slowing down, stopping, and just listening to my own
I
thoughts.
feel like you have a specific moment.
No,
where that,
well, no.
Okay.
There's a few. There's a few moments. One would be we were put on a boat to go down. We were put on a boat.
Put on the boat, or you went on the boat
We were
voluntary?
put on the boat, shuffled onto the boat. Right, you're going here. No, I'm joking. We were on the Mekong River.
Where's that?
It is at the top of Thailand, just outside Chiang Mai, and it goes all the way down to Vietnam.
Okay.
So we were on this boat, and we thought, oh, the pictures, the boat looks lovely, but it was not lovely. And there was no seats for us, so we had to sit in the
Puddles.
engine room. So for 2 days, myself and Holly are in this engine room on the bags. May I add, no seats on the bags.
On your bags?
On the bags. And obviously,
As in your clothes bags? Oh,
so the engine's roaring, and this is horrible. So I literally sat with my headphones in. They weren't even on, but it was just to drown out the noise a little bit. And there was that moment. I was just like, 2 days, because I couldn't even speak to Holly.
Yeah.
There was no conversation. So I just sat with my own thoughts and feelings, and probably reflected on the last 6 years of my life. So that is one of those moments where it was full on, but good turning point.
Amazing. Mike, when you went travelling and you gave up everything and just left, did your family support you through it?
I think that, I don't know how much I could trust my memory, and I think probably it's a question for them. But what I would say...
Get VARs on.
Yeah.
Next guest.
I'm not sure how many parents are delighted when their youngest child says, I'm off to Latin America.
I'll see you when I see you.
On a one-way flight. I think they probably realised that there wasn't going to be, that I was doing it anyway, sort of thing, and came around to the idea. I think they both joined Facebook off the back of me travelling, just so they could keep in touch.
Keep an eye on you.
And to be fair, when I was away, I Skyped home and checked in probably most weeks and kept in touch.
Yeah.
And I think it was probably a positive. My mum ended up going travelling away in a camper van or a motorhome for a year, couple of years after I was away. So
you inspired her.
I would hope that my travels had an effect.
If you, from memory, can you recall every place that you went? Go.
I could. What do you know? What, sometimes when I can't sleep, or if I can't sleep at night,
you count the places you visited.
I just try and retrace the journey in my head.
Amazing.
I like to do that. But I remember actually so I was employed in a gym before I went travelling. I remember like the manager or the boss of that facility coming to speak to me before I left and saying, Colombia and Bolivia, aren't these places really dangerous?
I knew you were about to say that.
and my take on it was, like, the only thing that we know is what we see on the news. Yeah. And there's never a report in 10 o'clock news. It's like, bong, British traveller returns home safely, having had amazing experience. So yes, there are.
What a rubbish story that
know.
Exactly.
Switch it off.
So, I don't know. I knew I needed to do it. So.
You knew you needed to do it?
Yeah.
How come? How did you need to do it?
I think I just knew, and it's. I don't want to say.
Is it primitive? Just you had to.
This sounds like almost a bit wishy-washy, and I don't want to go too down that
rabbit hole.
That rabbit hole, yeah. When I quit football,
only took so long, did it?
But it didn't feel like the decision was up there in my head. It just felt like a bit deeper in the heart. And I remember my last season playing, we were chasing down the league title, and there was one evening game, under the floodlights, and it was a tight game, and we ended up winning, and the momentum continued. And I came home that night, and I was laying in my bed, and it's hard to sleep. Like after a midweek game, you're shattered, but you're full of adrenaline.
Rush. Yeah.
And I was lying there, and I was thinking, I really enjoyed that. And it was weird because I hadn't been enjoying my football for whatever reason. And that was my head saying that. And then lower down, I was like, yeah, but I still know it's the right move. And so when I went traveling, it was the same. It's hard to say. I just knew it was the right move for me. I was enjoying my work. I felt I had direction. And I also had this feeling like if I don't do this, take this big trip, do this adventure now, I might not be able to do it.
Yeah, it's now or never almost.
Yeah, that's what it felt like.
Amazing. Brilliant. Lynsey, I'm coming back to you. At which point did you decide to dedicate yourself to your career? Last week. Just a couple of days ago.
No,
It's funny you
actually,
mentioned that.
I slept on it and thought, yeah, today's the day. Give me it again.
So the question is, what was the point that you decided to dedicate to your career?
For me, probably speaking to Mike whilst I was away, and he was talking about maybe opening a facility, and I actually remember, I think it was going from Melbourne to Adelaide in a camper van, reading your book and thinking, this is a part of me. I need to.
Would that be the Energy is Everything book?
Yeah, that one. And I remember thinking, whilst I was going around Australia, there's just something in me that I know that I need to go and help people. I know what I'm good at, and it's time, basically.
It's time.
It's time. But I needed the break away from it.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't enjoying it. It wasn't fulfilling me. But I would say that was the turning point of like, this is definitely where I will be with my career.
Amazing. And what a career it's been.
And what career? I'm not 60 yet.
Still going on. Done so much in so little time.
I know.
Mike, you wrote a book. Why have we never mentioned this before?
I don't know. I read it back maybe a year or two ago and didn't enjoy it so much when I read it back.
Changed your thoughts and feelings on it?
I think the content's okay. I just think I could probably write way better now. But you'd probably always say that. You know, again, if I walked into could go in a time machine 3 years back in the gym, I'd probably see things that I want to do better as well. So it's probably a sign of growth.
That's your growth mindset, yeah.
I do remember, like my Latin America, I finished in California doing a mentorship with a trainer, and then I spent a few days in San Francisco before I came home, and I actually was sitting in a Whole Foods with like an old-fashioned school jotter, like mind mapping out that whole book then.
I can see it as well. I can see it. I remember sitting on a train with you, I think it was down to Edinburgh, and we whipped out the jotters and we were mind mapping. Yeah. It was good. Okay, another question for you, Mike. I think this is in relation to opening up AKR. How did you have the courage to plunge into things?
Naivety. I backed myself. Like I would say,
silly enough to start and stubborn enough to finish.
Yeah, and just I felt like, as I touched on earlier, I was already doing this stuff. I was already working hours, coaching people, and having the facility. I wasn't so much worried about like the personal debt or that, because I needed to move forward. I needed to grow. I was unhappy with things that were out with my control in that gym where I was freelancing from. And yeah, I didn't feel I had much choice, and I don't think I had many doubts. I thought I could be good at this.
That's the next question. Did you know it would work? That's what it said. Did you know it would work?
Well, you can't know it would work, but again, I just think I'll make it work.
Backed yourself.
I think from working with you over the years, if you get something in your head, you'll action it.
It's hard to get out of your head, though.
Yeah, you'll action it, and you'll put everything into it until it's done.
I think a strength that I maybe have, I maybe touched upon it in that first episode, is I think I'm a good learner. So you don't need to, I don't need to have all the answers, because I'll learn my way out of it. Do you know what I mean? And that's kind of what's happened to an extent. You know, people who've been with us for 3, 4, 5 plus years will see how much things have evolved. And it's just, there have been times where literally I would go away on a course, on a seminar, learn something better and be like, all right,
Tell them about it.
And it would get implemented
On the train on
immediately.
the way home. Lynsey, right, this is what we're doing tomorrow. I'm like, okay, all right.
If I found a better way of doing something, I wouldn't be afraid to just go take action
And I think
and
that
put it in.
that shows in what we've created. It's always evolved. Remember how excited we were about getting a timer and a bike? Crazy to think that.
It's mad to see, to think what it was like in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
I almost missed the entire beginning part. I came on board, and that week, the gym was revamped. So we got rid of the 2 squat racks, and we got a rig. And we got rid of the green turf. We got blue.
Yeah.
Everything was rejigged.
Was that the first? Was that?
That was like my first.
Oh my god.
Within my first month of joining.
Set the tone.
Set the tone. But I do remember coaching on the old rigs and the old plyo boxes. What just wouldn't stand up straight and they just topple over. It seemed like a bit of a nightmare having those. Right, I've got some more questions. Talking about you being a good learner, could you give us 3 lessons that you learned?
My goodness. 3 lessons that I've learned. Come back to me. Go ask Lynsey something.
We'll go, have a think. Lynsey, you mentioned full commitment in that first episode.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean for you?
Well, as I've said before, I was a bit of a rebel. Still am a little bit.
Tell us a little bit more about that.
Full commitment to me is like putting everything into becoming a better coach and a better person. And if that's going on a course or reading a book or going to bed on time or being a little less manic at weekends, then that to me is full commitment to
Full engagement in life
Yeah.
and work and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yes.
Nice. Mike, you got anything for us yet?
It's such a difficult one. I would say
Give us one lesson.
I could say a few things, whether these are lessons or not. But I think something that I probably couldn't have known before is just how rewarding it is, not just seeing the members, but grow and develop, but the team, you guys and the rest of the guys in the team. Like that's really rewarding, and I think part of the learning in there is also how to. I've had a steep learning curve on like leadership and management and giving feedback and working with other people and recognizing that people aren't, people are different. They're not all going to look and think and act the same way as I would and things. So there's certainly something around that.
Mm-hmm.
I think the
Staffing.
staffing. All right. Did you fail at anything to push you forward?
The biggest
Professional
thing,
footballer, isn't it?
that's essentially it. I remember when I was playing in the Highland League, there was a guy who had formerly played for Bucky, who I was playing for, and he was in America doing a football scholarship, and he'd come back for the summer or whatever it was, and he said, "Any of you young loons at uni want to do a scholarship? And if you want to, here's my email address. Give me a shout." And because they're looking for people, actively looking for people. And I wrote down his email address, and I did nothing after that. And I think I was comfortable at uni. I think I'd just signed a contract with the football team, and I just did nothing. And I think it's difficult to be too critical, because looking back, I was probably 19 or 20, far less adventurous, hadn't been travelling, hadn't even taken the little backpacking trips in Europe that I'd taken before I went travelling. But still, I think, oh, what an experience that would have been. I wish I'd said yes to that. And I think that sort of thing fueled me on later to go travelling and to open the gym. And you think, like, the time's going to pass anyway.
Take the opportunity.
And there's a famous book, I think it's called like the Five Regrets of the Dying, and like the number one thing that people say is, I wish I'd had the courage to live life on my terms and not what other people think I should do, sort of thing. And so I think that experience and looking back and thinking, God, I could have, especially watch these American college movies and sports and things like that, and you think, geez, and there's no guarantee I would have had a scholarship, but
Hey,
Send
it's not
an
all
email.
cracked up to be, let me tell you.
Send an email, you know. So that's a failure that has driven me on. Yes, I would say.
I've got one more question, and then we'll round off this first episode. What's your favourite thing about being at AKR, or what's your favourite thing about opening AKR?
Lynsey, you going first?
I would say my favourite thing about being a part of AKR is the relationships and friendships that I've made.
Simple, beautiful.
Again, I would say the people. I love when, you know, on social media or things like that, you see members of the gym going off and doing something together.
Amazing.
And you think, wow, they only know each other because of the
bond
gym.
that
Yeah,
you
and that's outside of fitness, but it's life-changing in so many ways. You know, the relationships that are formed, people have best buds and things like that. It's great.
Helping them live the other 23 hours of their life
Yep.
better.
Yeah.
All right. Brilliant. I think that's a wrap for episode 1. Thank you so much for joining me. It's been a
Thank
pleasure
you.
again. Folks, if you have any other questions for us, we would love to answer them next season. Or next season, Mike? Next season?
Yeah, that's the plan.
All right, we'll love to answer them next season. It is podcast@akrfitness.com. Give us a follow on the socials. If you do give us a follow, please like, share our stuff with the hashtag Energizing Life Podcast. And for everything else, head to our website, akrfitness.com. And that's all from me, folks. We'll see you on the next one.